Hello and welcome again to the Leader Campus. I'm Dr. Chris Wildermuth, the Community Chair for the Leader Campus and also an Associate Professor at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. Today I wanted to talk briefly about benevolence and authenticity in leadership. And I was inspired to talk about these two topics at the International Leadership Association's conference in Brussels. I just came back from Brussels. It was a wonderful experience. And the highlight for me was the opportunity to present at a panel called Lead Away But Don't Mislead Me, where I met these two wonderful colleagues, Art Trejo and Cindy Pace. So Art and Cindy, it was such a pleasure to meet you, such an honor to present with you. So today, here's the roadmap. This is going to be quick and simple and unscripted and informal. I'm going to briefly tell you what benevolent leadership means. I attended a series of presentations on that topic and I'm fascinated by it. The second is what authentic leadership means, and authenticity is going to be the theme of the International Leadership Association conference next year. And then finally, why does all of this matter to you? So let's start with what benevolent leadership means. So according to Caracas and Sarigolu, benevolent leadership has to do with creating a vicious cycle of positive change. And I love that idea of a vicious cycle of positive change in which the leader inspires the followers to change, and then the followers inspire the leader back. So there are four components to benevolent leadership according to these authors. The first is the benevolent leader is ethical or makes decisions in an ethical way. The second component is the benevolent leader aspires to create a sense of meaning in the followers. And you may remember from my previous presentation that having a sense of meaning, understanding that what you do for work actually has value, actually has importance, actually means something, is extremely important for employee engagement. So keep that in mind as I go on. The third component is the benevolent leader inspires hope and courage for positive action. Hope and courage, those two are important for positive action. Positive action for whom? Positive action to impact the community at large. So benevolent leaders are concerned to doing good for the community itself, not only for the small community within the organization, but also for society. So just to go back to the four components of benevolent leadership: ethical decision-making, creating a sense of meaning, inspiring positive action, and then finally leaving a positive impact on the community. And all that comes not only from the leader, but from the followers as well, because you may remember that the benevolent leader creates a vicious cycle of positive change. Inspiring and exciting. One example that I saw in the conference of benevolent leadership came from the presentation of Dawn Jeffries. She's actually a financial advisor, but she's a doctoral student, and she leads this organization called GLOW, Girls Light Our Way, in Peoria, Illinois, to help and inspire and educate girls. And I really want to learn more about what Dawn does. Dawn, if by any chance you're listening to this, a big shout out to you and to your organization. Kudos for what you do. Okay, so what is authentic leadership, which is the theme, the concept behind the next conference, which will be in October of 2018, called Authentic Leadership for Progress, Peace, and Prosperity. That's going to be in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I'm hoping to be able to go to that one as well. So if you look up the word authentic, it's just genuine. It's real. Right? Real, bona fide, true, veritable. So what is authentic leadership? Well, there are four characteristics of authentic leaders, and that's according to the authors on the screen, Hannah, Avolio, and Wolumbwa. So these four are internalized moral perspective, self-awareness, relational transparency, and balanced processing. Well, that's All these are mouthfuls, so let's go through each of them in turn. The first one is internalized moral perspective. And by that, the authors mean that authentic leaders present high levels of moral development and are guided by strong moral values. And when they behave, their behaviors reflect their own internal values and not external pressures. The second component of authentic leadership is self-awareness, and that basically means self-knowledge and an understanding of how the self impacts others. So authentic leaders consider themselves, consider their own sense of self when they behave, because they know how their behavior may impact other people, including their followers, of course. The third component is relational transparency. So authentic leaders are open and honest. They share their information, and they share not only dry information, but they also share their own thoughts and feelings. And by doing that, they model that relational transparency. They model that sharing of information and enhance the information sharing within their team, among their followers. Balanced processing means that authentic leaders consider not only their own views, but others' views. And they ask for those views actively. They ask for their followers' ideas before making a decision. And all that enhances meaning. You may remember that in when I was talking about benevolent leadership, we talked about inspiring a sense of meaning. So why all this matters to leaders? Well, first of all, let's draw some connections between authentic leadership and benevolent leadership. You may have noticed that both of these connect leadership and ethics, which I find exciting. Is the idea that if you are a leader, you have the power to lead, the power to influence, power over other people. What are you going to do with that power? So ethics becomes a very important component of leadership. Also, both of them have to do with clarity, the clarity of your own values. So the leader has the responsibility to clarify those values and to act according to those values. And also, because of that clarity of values, both benevolence and authenticity suppose some level of self-awareness. So cultivating that self-awareness becomes part of your clarity of values and therefore becomes part of your ethics. In my own study on engagement, which I've been conducting for a while, I explore relationships between trustworthiness of the leader specifically, or how the followers trust the leader, and engagement. Here are 3 examples of questions. I genuinely care for my reports, I'm honest with my reports, and I'm open with my reports about my strengths and weaknesses. You may notice that these questions have to do both with benevolence and with authenticity. Genuinely care for my reports would have to do with benevolence, and honesty and openness about strengths and weaknesses would have to do with authenticity. And what I've been finding so far, and this is still preliminary, is that yes, there is a relationship between the followers' trust of the leader and engagement, and specifically there is a positive relationship between trustworthiness, or the trustworthiness of the leader, and the pride that the follower expresses in the organization itself, and also the willingness of the follower to expand his or her role, do more, not only do more quantitatively, but also qualitatively to help the organization change positively. So again, I've already invited you all to participate in the study. I thank very much everyone who already has. Last I checked, I think I have about 80 responses. I would still like to have a few more, and it only takes about 10 minutes. So if you could participate in the study, Moment of Disengagement, I will be sharing the link again in this week's announcement, and I would love it if you could share it with your colleagues as well. Again, the survey itself takes only about 10 minutes. It's called Losing the Light in Your Eyes, and when all is said and done, I will put together a webinar to present the findings to the community of the Leader Campus. And that's all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed this very brief presentation. I have other exciting findings from the conference that I will be presenting in the following weeks. But what I was most excited about was all the wonderful authors and presenters whom I met at the conference and whom I'm hoping Mel and I will be able to interview in the months to come. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a fabulous week.